I'm a pretty easygoing guy when it comes to movies, and I pretty much enjoy every single movie I watch. But The Crow 2024 reboot is one of the first times in a long time that I literally wanted to leave the theater. I'm not even lying when I literally say this movie is so bad it makes me want to off myself. And I will say, I am not a massive Crow fan. I've seen the original movie one time, and I did read the graphic novel a couple months back. And I saw the trailer for this movie, and I thought, you know what? That actually looks like my kind of thing. I like hardcore, gritty vengeance movies, and this looks like it was going to be right up my alley. But that's not what this movie is really about. The entire first half of this movie is literally just setting up Eric and Shelley's romance before they are eventually executed and he is resurrected. That's literally the entire first half of the film. And I would not have a problem with it if it wasn't for the writing. The writing in this movie is so atrocious and so just mediocre. The dialogue in this movie is so unnatural that you're watching this movie, and the whole time I could not stop thinking, no one in the world actually talks like this. And the acting is so bad in this movie. And I can't put all the blame on the actors because it is extremely difficult to deliver lines that are so poorly written. So I can't really put the blame all on the actors. They were just given a really bad script, in my opinion. One of my other biggest complaints with this movie was the soundtrack. This movie's soundtrack was so random. You would have these random pop songs playing when it's supposed to be a serious moment. At least in my opinion, it should have been a serious moment. But then you got this like upbeat pop song playing. You got depressing music playing when it's supposed to be a little bit more uplifting. The soundtrack was all over the place. And it's just, for an example, the final battle scene where Eric is supposed to be, he's taken out all these goons and stuff, which is a pretty cool scene if it wasn't for this random opera music playing in the background, and it completely takes you out of the scene, and it feels so childish with this background opera music while you see this dude just slaughtering a bunch of dudes. Another thing that bothered me was the tone. The tone of this movie is all over the place. You have scenes where they are trying to be serious, but it comes off as just bland, and it has no emotion to it whatsoever because, again, the acting and the dialogue is so poorly written. And then you have this movie that's trying to act so dark and serious and trying to be so edgy and gritty, and then 2 seconds later you have a scene where Eric makes a joke and puts a cigarette in some dead dude's mouth, and he's like, hey, can you hold this for me? Like, come on, man, what are you doing? Like, the tone was all over the place. But I will say there was a couple things I did genuinely enjoy about the movie. I really liked the cinematography. I thought the movie was shot beautifully. I enjoyed the cinematography a lot. And I will say the action was really good in this movie. I will say there wasn't as much action as I would have liked. I would have liked at least a couple more action scenes in the movie. But when there was action, it was really well done. The choreography and the fighting was really cool. The blood and the gore was really well done. The special effects, like with him regenerating, were really well done. So I will say I really enjoyed those aspects of the movie. But at the end of the day, a cool looking movie does not make for a good movie. And I just feel like this movie was such a missed opportunity. I saw the trailer and I thought this movie was going to be at least entertaining. And it wasn't even that. This movie is just so bland, so dull, with no heart, no emotion, no message. It's just so bland. At the end of the day, I would give The Crow 2024 reboot probably like a 3 out of 10. I think this is the worst movie I've seen this year, and I've seen Madam Web. I think this movie is worse than Madam Web, and I'm being serious about that, but it's not by much. But I will say this, if you are really wanting to see this movie, go ahead and see it. You might like it more than me. Maybe I just didn't have a very good experience. I don't know. But if you could not care less about seeing this movie, don't bother. It's going to be a waste of your money. I think the only people that are actually going to like and enjoy this movie are 13-year-olds that pretend to be depressed so that they can get attention from people. That's about it. Other than that, I don't foresee anyone else enjoying this movie whatsoever. This movie is a great example of what's wrong with modern Hollywood. They're running out of ideas, so they're like, hey, there's this movie from 30 years ago that no one's touched. How about we redo it, but worse? Hollywood, please leave it alone. Meanwhile, I'm going to try to avoid not jumping into traffic. Wish me luck.